Hey, what's going on, my beautiful people? Let me go ahead and figure this whole mic thing out. Kind of struggling there. Last time we had some issues, so I want to make sure that that's not a problem. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this feed right now. If you can't, then I need to do some things. Give me 1 second here. I want to thank everybody for being here. I appreciate you so very much. And I want to make this session valuable to you, as always. Let me see if I can find my. I have some issues. Sorry. Well, that's interesting. All right, never mind then. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the thumbs up. You can hear me. What's up, Paris? I listened to the audiobook attached 3 times. I feel much better after understanding the content and how my ex was on the somewhat secure to avoidant spectrum. I understand what happened now. Clarity is a very liberating thing, right? Like when you can get that vision just a little bit clearer and realize that it's not all about me. This wasn't all me. You can put your ego out of the way, put it to bed and say, look, ego, relax. This wasn't just about me. This person, the issues that this person is having started a long time ago. So thumbs up, Z. Paris, is good to see you, ma'am. It's been a while. I'll switch to YouTube. Appreciate you. I know that's what most people say when they go live on Facebook is make sure you go over to YouTube and get the likes up so it can help me out. Let the analytics know that, hey, Court's here and ready to go live. So all that jazz. Maybe I need someone to do that for me in the comment section, but bump over to YouTube, boost the analytics. The more people that we can get in here and asking questions, the more people that we can actually get feedback from and be able to have those different life experiences. I really wish that I get my act together and get to put together some type of group coaching, because when I first started mentoring and working with people, I did a lot of group coaching and having different experiences and having, feedback and having people that almost kind of make us like co-facilitators. Now, I know how dangerous that can get, though, because some people get a little egotistical and try to take over the group. But I think it's important to be able to have all the life experiences in one place. I really feel like it is time better spent when you are able to work with people in a group format. Now I get it. Now I understand why people like doing lectures and like going and doing these seminars, because you can touch more people than just one. And one-on-one coaching, it gets tiring sometimes. It gets exhausting. And a lot of the times the stuff that you have to say, you'll be repeating because you've actually worked with that situation in the past. But I know a lot of people come to me and they say, hey, guess what, coach? I got a doozy for you. This is something that you've never dealt with, I'm sure. And I say, try me. All right. And then they feel better at the end of the day when they say, you know what? I thought I was the only one that's been through that. There's a lot of people in this world. I don't have to keep repeating how many people in this world. You can Google that. Everybody knows how many it is. But let's get to it. The topic for today. What is the topic for today? Seasons change. So what I wrote? Seasons change. And why aren't you? So I had a coaching session today, and this one just flowed organically. This quote I wrote on Instagram. It just flowed 100% organically. Like, you know what? I need to actually push this topic a little bit further, because I think people need some type of elaboration on this. And what the quote says is, I hope you guys, if you guys are from Instagram, give me a thumbs up, get the likes up, let people know I'm here. And this is good feedback time, because I have people actually needing me to elaborate on this. And I think this is the perfect avenue to do it. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and tell them. And I think this is the best way that I can clarify it for you. All right. So the quote I wrote was, Just because they've moved on quickly doesn't mean the relationship never mattered. That's like saying that the sun. That's like saying the sun at the beach was never pleasant because now there's snow on the ground. Seasons change, and that's okay. All right. So it doesn't really. I understand if it's coming from an egotistical standpoint. You want to make sure that you didn't waste your time and like this person actually meant something to you and vice versa. Like you meant something to that person, especially if you were the dumb bee. But here's the one thing that dumpers know that seasons change. They do. There was a guy that I was working with. Actually, what year? 2022. Wow. Back in like 2007, I went to a series of lectures, and this older guy, I was it was a continued education deal that I was going through. And he told me and the people in the class, because we were trying to figure out, let me figure out what it was. The work that I was doing at that time, it was a high rate of burnout. So they will send you to these different lecture series and try to help you understand, the importance of mental health and how to get rid of secondary trauma and all those type of things. And this course was a guy, older guy. I want to say he was easily like 70 years old. Funniest guy, coolest. And he said there's two things that are certain in life. Everything dies and everything changes. And how you deal with those changes defines what type of person you are. And I was actually on a call with a person today, and I had an epiphany. And I said, you know what? That's a great statement, but I feel like you can up that. Everything dies and everything changes. But how you deal with those changes depends on your state of mind, I feel. So if you understand that the seasons are going to always change, because they do, and people's feelings for you is going to always change, because they do. If you're not growing together, you're growing apart. I said this so many times. You have to be able to understand that things have changed. The people who are still stuck mentally are the ones who don't accept reality for what it is. Like the quote says by Aaron Rent, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of reality. And the consequences is you'll continuously be stuck on this person. You won't be able to move on mentally. The other people won't stand a chance. If you're still hung up, I've coached people who are on their fourth wife, but still haven't gotten over their first wife because they don't realize that the season has changed. Wrote a quote a long time ago, don't get stuck in a snowstorm with your swim trunks still on. That's essentially what's happening. You can't accept that the sun has set and the weather has changed, but you're only punishing yourself. That's the one thing that the dumper understands, is that not everything lasts forever. Now, this may sound like a very doom and gloom deal, especially when my channel is geared towards trying to help you reconcile with people. But I'm also feeling these days like I'm more of a time management consultant. And where are you going to put your energy? Are you going to put your energy towards healing, or are you going to put your energy towards trying to get this person back? I really feel that the quicker that you are able to have that discernment between what's, like the Serenity prayer, Lord, grant me the wisdom to accept the things I cannot change and the courage to change things I can. And one thing that you can change is the way that you view where you're at right now. It may seem like a very broken state at this moment, especially if you're someone that struggle with the scarcity mindset. But if you're someone who has an abundance mindset and you understand that it's only a matter of time before someone is going to come through the door that's going to align more with you and where you're at in your journey right now, because essentially that's what that is. What you liked when you were 20 years old, you may not like when you're 30. The person that was for you at 20 in that moment may not be for you anymore. The seasons have changed. You grow with changes. Absolutely. Simone, what's up, lady? Shelly from New Zealand, hello. Get the thumbs up, get the likes up. I'm going to check on you guys to see if you're actually doing that for me. If you have any questions, I'm here. Let's get to it. If you have something you want me to answer, I got you. 8 thumbs. but it's 19 people watching. What is that about? I know sometimes the app act weird and you can't like, and I got a thumbs down too. Wait a minute. All right. Somebody is not happy about what I'm saying, but that's okay. When I decided to do this live session tonight, one thing I realized was not everybody's going to be ready to hear this message because this isn't what the channel is usually geared towards. But I also want to ask you guys, I'm going to challenge you. Are you trying to manipulate this person back, or are you trying to actually what am I trying to say here? I don't want this channel to come off as some type of manipulative and you know, how to get X back type deal, because that's not right. I feel it's time better spent. Cool. If you're able to come to this channel by trying to figure out how to get an X back, okay, great. But when you're here, we're going to pivot here and we're going to work on you. We're going to turn the lens back on you. And this is what I do with a lot of my coaching sessions. Sorry if you guys are trying to book a session with me. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you really turn inwardly and figure out who you are and why you're doing some of the things that you're doing and why you feel the need to get this person back so much. Now, if it's a case where this person had a lot of good qualities, they checked a lot of your boxes, and you didn't show up the right way, you kind of came off as a little bit too overbearing. And honestly, some people are a little not wrapped tight when they book sessions with me, and they don't quite see it. But if you're someone who's trying to get a second chance in order to show up better and to show that you can be this different person and you're not so fear of abandonment, you don't have such a strong fear of abandonment, then I get it. But if you're someone that can't let this person go because your ego is in the way, you know, like the people who probably thumbs down this feed right now because their ego's in the way and they don't want to believe that this person has moved on. Sometimes they move on in such a gut-wrenching way and so abruptly that you don't quite understand it. But whenever I dive deep into why that happened, it's usually because the season had changed a long time ago, but that person hadn't seen the signs. You know, the guardrail was coming down and on the train track, the horns were blowing, and you're still punching gears like, I think I can make this. Like, I don't know about that. Hey, did you really think this went through? But I also understand that when you put so much time, you put so much energy and investment into someone, that it's hard to just walk away from that. I think the term is sunken cost fallacy. It's when you have a hard time walking away from things. Like, this is perfect time right now with the stock market and how the stocks are like dropping. There's a lot of people who won't pull out because they've put so much money into it and so much time. Sometimes people lose a lot of money in their portfolio, but because of the sunken cost fallacy, they feel like, all right, it's going to turn around. It's going to turn a new leaf. But sometimes that's not the case. And it leaves someone standing there holding the bag. Like, what just happened? Like, I did this, I did X, Y, Z. I became this person for them. But then I have to question people too. Like, did you become that person for them in a healthy way? You know, were you just shape-shifting yourself or making yourself a chameleon just to be with that person? Because then there's a whole different issue. That means you're not authentic. And in some way, that's manipulative. And you're not actually being your authentic self. And what happens when you're not your authentic self? I like to think of it as like you're not embracing that shadow part of yourself. I like to think of it as like, you know, a bow and arrow. You know, you're trying to be this certain person for so long. You're trying to do any and everything. You're pleasing them. This is what the protesting behaviors essentially is. And when you let that bow and arrow go, it's going to go so far in the opposite direction. You're going to snap. It's like, I'm not going to say his name, but a guy, JP, that I listened to, he said conflict avoided is conflict delayed and magnified. So what essentially happens is boom, all those protest behaviors are going to start to happen. You're going to blow up. You're going to go out. You're going to sleep with someone else. You're going to get a number, and you're going to like try to make that person jealous and envious of the other person. And it ends up blowing up in your face. What's up, Paris? Avoidance are a problem. Okay, Lisa, let's talk about that a little bit, all right? They're a problem. Okay. Let's say we're going to run with that, because we have avoidance in this room right now. They're trying really hard to not be avoidant. And they understand that. They understand that the way that they're attaching to people is unhealthy, and they want to actually fix that. But it's not something that they are intentionally doing. And whenever I have someone that try to just, they're dead set that this person is just an unhealthy person, they're avoiding, they're this and that. And then I try to get to the bottom of like, look at different characteristics about the person. And I say, no, it sounds like you might have been dealing with someone that was bipolar, or someone who's narcissistic that has avoidant tendencies, or they weren't avoidant at all. They just hid stuff from you because they didn't want you to see the real person, or they were using you, or they were trying to get over on you. But then that's another problem too, because people have binge watched my videos at that point, and they already have this picture of that person in their mind. They've already had this self-diagnosis of that person. So when I try to tell them, yeah, no, I don't think this is an avoidant issue. I think this is just a character issue. This is just, they weren't raised right issue. And they don't like to hear that, but it is what it is. Ouch, Lisa. Some of us become that way after being secure. Yeah, very true. I tell people who are anxious attachers too, they have to be careful, because I've seen a lot of people who are anxious attachers in relationship and deeply devoted, committed, feared abandonment, and then got into a relationship that got abusive and they got taken advantage of. And then they turned into fearful avoidance, where they were really ambivalent about attaching to someone in the future. So your attachment styles change. All right, all this is true. You are part of my reason I no longer want my ex back. My perspective changed everything. That's what it's all about. Now, I'm not a breakup coach. Like I believe in relationships. I believe that, two people can walk the journey together, but it takes two whole people. That whole quote about, when people say my better half, it's like, I cringe at that. Like, my better half. So what are you? Like, which half are you? Are you the 30%? Or are you the 70%? Well, clearly, if it's your better half, then you clearly view them as higher value than you. And like, you're the one that's messed up in the relationship, and no one should have that state of mind. Get the likes up. We got 21 people. 21 people, 11 likes. All right. Oh, wait. See, I was listening to some, I was thinking about doing some theme music or something like that. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Kind of like a little intermission or whatever. Try to make it more of like a professional production. I think it'd be fun to do it that way. And there is some really good content that can come out of these live sessions. So that's the reason I even continue to do them. And I also like giving back to people, giving back to the community. You guys have grown this thing over 13,000 subscribers, which is crazy. So maybe an avoidant ex is hot and has lots of options. Well, that too. One thing I learned too about people who make a lot of money, people that I've had their exes reach out to me, and they're confused as like why this person left and why they became so avoidant. And then it all makes sense too, because they picked someone who were in the abundance mindset and felt like, I don't have to tolerate a whole bunch of anxiousness or clinginess or toxicity. I can just move on to someone else. So maybe this person it's so many different nuances that can contribute to a relationship. That's why I don't really like putting things in such a tight knit box. because there's so many different things. Their relationship history, their upbringing, um, their religion, their financial status. It's so many different things, the different traumas, level of traumas that they've been through. So it's important to think about all those different things. And when you come to a coaching session, make sure that you have an open mind. Try not to be so fixated on this one concept that you've studied for a while, because sometimes it's not what you think it is. Paris, I hope you're doing all right. This would be cool too, is to have people to like call in. But I've seen some nightmare stories come from that, and I don't really want. It's one of my other guys that runs a YouTube channel. He used to do it, and he would caution me and say, you might want to be careful about that, because some people will call in and be very upset and don't know how to filter themselves. So I want to keep this channel pretty clean. So just a little something I'm toying with. Any questions from you guys? I'm still reading books and loving life. Of course, I got my Wayne Dyer book over there, but I'm going to go ahead and end this for you guys. All right. I want to make sure that the time that we spend is going to be quality time and not just here just to be here. I know there are a lot of streams that go, 2-3 hours, and I'm not into that really. But do you coach attachment styles? I do. I'm more of an attachment strategist on being, if you're dealing with someone who you're in a relationship with and they have a certain attachment style, I can help you navigate that. And I can also help you become more secure. Someone just actually emailed me that, asking me if it was something that I can do. But yeah, I do have tools and different exercises that we can do in order for you to become back more secure. But it takes time. I'm telling you, attachment takes a really long time to change. You have to be committed to it. You may have days where you'll have major breakthroughs, but there'll be days where you go back and you regress. It's going to be a process. Even myself, there are days where I regress as far as like how secure I am within myself. But I also have to remind myself that not everything lasts forever. And as long as I'm able to embrace this moment right now, that's all that matters. Because this is, like Eckhart Tolle says, all we ever have is right now. The past doesn't matter. The future doesn't exist. Right now. I've been married for 34 whoa, that is a long time. And married for 34 years to a DA. He finally worked out on me, but still wants to live in the house. Walked out. Should I let him? And you teach people how to treat you. And if you guys have been together for 34 years and the final thank you for all those years is, I'm leaving you for someone else. Did he find someone else? Then I would say, well, it's been fun. Thank you for the memories. Hasta luego. Oh, so he just wanted to just leave. That's a long time. I mean, are you planning on meeting someone else? Are you planning on continuing in the dating scene, or do you want to be single? Paris, I appreciate you guys too. One thing that I wanted to make sure that I did when I started coaching, and I actually think it's kind of a byproduct from when I used to mentor kids, is leading everything with a lens of empathy. And some people might even say that in my sessions, I'm not very empathetic. Like I really like hammer it in, like, all right, this is what we need to do. This is the game plan. It's what we need to get done. But it's always for their best. I always want them to be their best self. And so whenever I try to have a live session and I'm talking to people, and even in group coaching sessions, when I used to do a couple groups coaching sessions, I wanted to make sure that I understood that everyone's walk in their life, their journey has been different. And I can't come in and be an insensitive. It worked for some people, but I also think about the people who it don't work for, the people who's going to be re-triggered or re-traumatized. I've had kids that went through very traumatic situations, so I had to be cautious and mindful about some of the things that I exposed them to and some of the places that we actually went. So I see the same thing with adults, because at-risk youth just become at-risk adults. They just age out of the system. I don't know how many times I've said that on videos, but they stop getting the financial and the resources that they got before they turn 18. And they end up having to, just go out into the wild and do things on their own. So if you're having someone that's been through a lot of different trauma and they never really resolved it, and let's just be honest, how many people that are 15, 16, 17 are taking therapy sessions very serious, or counseling sessions, just like, all right, my mom said I had to be here. So they're not really doing the actual work that they need to do. And I've worked with people who have been in a system, for 10 years. They've got put in the system when they were 6 years old, and they're going through 16, 17. They've been in therapy for 10 years, and they still end up committing a major crime at the age of 18. So who's going to support people after they turn 18, after they age out and they become adults? It is rough. System is so broken. Yeah, but how do we fix it? We could talk about that topic all day too, but that'd be for another live session. You guys have any more questions? That's what I would suggest you do, and is to okay, so he wants to live in a house. He wants to live in a house. So meaning that you have to leave? Is he expecting for you to go find somewhere else to go? Because if we're talking about divorce, it doesn't really work out too well for men. I guess probably isn't going to go in his favor. I don't know if there's like I said, there's a bunch of different variables there too, like were you a stay-at-home wife, are you employed? Because then is always the hammer is going to come down on him, and you're probably going to end up being awarded a house, especially if you supported him for 34 years. That's a long time. I went out on a couple dates, 2 different women with anxious attachment styles. I felt not so great blowing them off, but need someone who has a secure attachment, avoiding a red flag. So Z, yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing: when you do the work on yourself, right? I look at it as like, I'm not really a poor swimmer, so I'm not really a great swimmer, so this might be a bad analogy. I look at it as like someone who's taken swim classes and you've done everything to try to save yourself if there was an emergency and you needed to, swim back for survival. You do all that, you're able to like go out and swim in the ocean, in the lake, whatever, but then you purposely go back and splash in a kiddie pool, which means you're at a different part in your journey, but you purposely go back to splash with them, and you'll end up getting frustrated, because they're not willing to like take it serious, and they're not willing to meet you where you're at. You're just coming back to meet them where they're at. So I get it. It can be charming to a degree, especially if you're a man, you have someone that's an anxious woman. It can be charming, and it can boost your ego, but it does get overwhelming, and it has all the makings of turning into an unhealthy, jealous, controlling, insecure relationship. So I get why you decided not to do it. And I wouldn't have just blew him off like that. I'm like, yeah, this just isn't working out, But that's the problem too with online dating. People getting dismissed and people getting swiped. It's so easy and so common that people are almost desensitized to it, 15 likes. We can get more in there, right? Z, has been a while. I think he used to come in here all the time. What's your thoughts on when a man brings up being in an open relationship? This is so crazy because over the past couple of weeks, I've been talking to a lot of people about, poly relationships and how it works out. It tends to work out great for some people, but not so great for others, especially if the things aren't discussed, like the rules aren't laid out as far as how things are going to happen. You can't have your own rules for yourself, and then have it for a whole different set of rules for someone else. Like you can't be someone that's, you know, exploring, but you get jealous when someone else is exploring too. So I don't think that's something that's usually able to work. Um, I'm not the relationship police, so I don't know. I can't say if open relationships are right or wrong because I've seen them work before, but I also seen them turn really bad. So, and also, I was only in their life for such a short blip that I don't know if those relationships are still working or not. They may have decided to just go monogamous and settle down. But usually, when someone proposes that, it means that they're not ready to settle down with just one person. Take that what you will, but that's usually what the sign is when they do bring that up. If you knew they were anxious attachment styles, blowing them off wasn't cool. You should have been transparent. Yeah, that would have helped them out. I really feel like feedback after things don't work out great is it's healthy. And you want to help them become the best version of themselves. It is cute, but quickly becomes annoying. Yeah. Your videos have helped me understand a lot. I'm wondering if you've ever worked with people experiencing a trauma bond. I think this is happening to me and I want to heal. Um, yeah, I have. Quite often actually. Trauma bonds are usually pretty easy to see. When I used to work in recovery, and when I used to give lectures and stuff, you can kind of see some of the people who are trauma bonded, which is why they say that you shouldn't date people while you're in recovery because uh, it kind of reinforces. Usually, when people are struggling with some type of addiction, it's some type of severe trauma. Usually, sometimes they just kind of just pick it up one day. But for most of the time, it's some trauma there. And when they meet someone, they have that similar level of trauma. And they're like, well, this just makes sense. You get me. You understand me. But that thing turns unhealthy real quick. So usually the man goes out and does whatever, and a woman not allowed to do anything. I would agree with you, but after seeing this for so long, after working with so many people, I was doing the numbers the other day. I'm like, man, I'm up to 800, 900 people coached. I used to have a very black and white way of seeing things. Like, yep, men do this, like super blanketed comment statements or whatever. But then I started to see that this isn't quite the case because sometimes women are able to get away with things a lot easier than men are. Um, Men are kind of sloppy, put it that way. All right, so usually man goes out and does whatever. True. I thought trauma bonding is when a victim bonds with an abuser. Yeah. So Katie, let's talk about this. All right. Let's talk about this. Um, Google it. Google it. It's not always gender specific for sure. Women are better at sneaking around, in my opinion. I don't know. Well, like I said, I don't want to blanket statement it, but that's it's pretty common. Wait, I thought we were talking about. This chat's kind of moving here. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. No more questions. I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys on this Wednesday night. Appreciate you guys for being here. As you always know, that I always end my videos with the quote, when you go be love, you'll never have to find it. Namaste. Love you guys. If you want to book a session, I'm here. Follow me on other social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So I'm Coach Court. Love you guys. Have a good night. Appreciate you for being here. And go back and watch the replay. Peace.